or contact, I'll reach out to you and we'll have a conversation. I want to get started with the piece behind me and my usual on the fun part first, what I did over the weekend in terms of shows. So the first show I watched was Kapil Sharma's I Am Not Done Yet. So I'm blocking this. Let me move a little to this side. Okay. I have a bad feeling that this is mirrored. Anyway, so over the weekend, I saw the trailer of this on my Netflix feed, and this is a kind of show I didn't think that in our house, like I thought I would be watching this alone, but somehow recently even a lot of my friends who don't watch a lot of Hindi stuff, just because people are from different languages in India, so they prefer watching English. But this weekend, some of my friends who are not a big fan of his or have seen much of the content decided to pick this up and watch it, and then we decided to have a chat about it. Now, my interest is that because I worked in the entertainment industry and I'm very keen on looking at what the next gen storytelling industry will look like, so I kind of always deep dive into the marketing side of it, the merchandising side of it, the franchising side of it, etc., and how this will all impact the NFT industry and the future of storytelling industry. So I have actually spent maybe 2 episodes worth of time on this set of Kapil Sharma a long time back when I was working on a couple of Bollywood projects in the marketing department, and got to see firsthand how this kind of setup functions, what are the things that go on behind the stage, how much work there is. So while appreciated everything, loved it, but not a big fan of the content or the humor or the way it is curated, which is fine. Now, when this happened, Netflix, I've started following these Netflix journeys of individual stand-up comedians, because if you look at especially the American stand-up comedians, and when they go for this 1-hour specials, if you look at Nanette, that's one per Dave Chappelle, what's that other guy's name? Mercury, the tambourine, I can't believe the tambourine. I have to tell you his name, he's amazing. Chris Rock's Tambourine. All of these are almost episodes which is a cathartic experience that the artist is trying to bring out. Now, because they do so much work on different clubs and hustle all their lives and the kind of experiences they get, that Netflix is kind of becoming a platform that they sum up their journeys in a very kind of different way than they are allowed to when they are performing in these big venues or in these smaller clubs as well, because the pressure at that point of time is, okay, you have to make people laugh, They build a career out of it, and then these Netflix kind of shows actually give them the opportunity to be able to showcase their full story and tell something that earlier the platforms didn't allow or doesn't still allow. So I don't see anything wrong with that. So anyway, I saw it. Bottom line, liked pretty good parts of it, was earnest, definitely shed a tear or two, because a lot of middle class stories are so relatable, and it doesn't really matter if you've become the richest person in the world, but if your childhood is marred with that kind of experiences, it doesn't really leave you with much choice but to keep thinking about them every time you achieve something, etc. I'm sure that happens to everybody. So I watched it, loved it, and then I knew about the controversies around the tweets that he had tweeted out to the leader of the country and the backlash that he faced, and this has become a pretty regular affair. I think even in America nowadays, people are getting more and more intolerant openly because of the the luxury that social media provides. But coming back to this show, so I didn't know much about it, so hearing it from his point of view and how he kind of used humor, self-deprecating humor, and actually made light of it, I think was quite courageous. And I think more, whether it doesn't matter who the leader of the country is, I think it's extremely important to constantly express displeasure towards authority, even if it's working perfectly. Even if you are living in utopia, it's important to try and constantly nitpick. That's why the term devil's advocate has to mean something. Now, after that, why did I decide to make this? Not because of, yes, it will get me some eyeballs and all of that. Yes, I hope. But one of the reasons I decided to do this was that I read some more reviews after watching the show. And for me, surprise, all the people some of the friends, when I told them, they didn't even know who this guy is. And when I told them and gave them some examples and analogies of some American shows to try and compare, they decided to give it a shot. And these are people who don't know him from Adam and they like the show. So one of the things I definitely want to point out to the entertainment journalists who take it upon themselves to review these kind of shows and are so critical that it borderlines on being vile. Some of the articles that have talked about it being a soppy shit, it's not funny enough, or this, it's more about like self-grandiose, etc., all of that. This doesn't seem like review of the content. It doesn't seem like a review of the format. It just seems like a personal opinionated piece just because you can. After, like, I went through almost 8 or 9 reviews, and there was not, if I had not watched this show, not a single review gave me technical updates on or technical information about the show which would give me one way or the other whether I should watch it or not, because these reviewers are starting to just disintegrate into just these vile Twitter users. That's the sad part. So I just hope that soon enough we start seeing like a Rotten Tomatoes kind of more and more impactful people talking and critiquing the technical aspects of it, if you're trying to do a technical review, or if you're trying to do from an English, like Hindi literature point of view, all of that. One point I wanted to make out was his singing at the end. This ideology that all of Indians have, like, it was cringeworthy. Why the fuck was it cringeworthy? When an Italian person, when a French person, when a fucking, like all my friends from different countries come, and like, especially the Hispanic friends, like they talk in any English accent and we find, oh my God, kitna sexy, oh hot. Fine, our accent from India when we sing in English songs, acha nahi hai, big fucking deal. When an American tries to sing a Bollywood song with his ridiculous accent, we give them 2 million views. But with an Indian, with a very interesting journey, story, whatever that person is trying to do, you might not like his story, like his work, doesn't matter. But then to try and go ahead and attack his like English, like how, on what basis? What the fuck is this? Like, how are you different from everyone else that you keep talking about? Hi Bulbul Bajpayee, you seem very emphatic. Hi, do I know you? And if you are from school and you have changed your surname, not my fault. Hi Hassan. So, hey Bulbul, if you could just write a little note here so that I know what you want to talk about, so that then I will stop my conversation and connect with you. So if you could just write a note here and I will come back to you. So that is why for me then I decided that this is something that I would like to make an NFT out of. And I decided to make this. So for people who've just, no, don't say sorry, Bulbul. I would love to have a conversation. If you could just write a line or two, what you were thinking to talk about, and then I can connect with you. So people who've come up late, I'm just going to, this is an 8-second video, a loopable NFT that I thought I would make and see how people react. So I'm just going to play it once or twice right now for 16 seconds for people who've come up late, and then move on to the next topic. Okay, so what I wanted to do was, this is something that I kind of just worked over the weekend. I saw the show on Saturday, I think, and then I decided, Friday or Saturday, I knew it was coming, and then I decided to make something. So today I thought it would be great to actually take through the process of what went through my mind when I was watching the show, and then when I read the reviews, and then how I decided that, okay, this should be the story, like why the bottles, why all this alcohol, why that bottle, etc. So for people who have not seen the show, I mean, it's not a thriller, but still you don't want to spoil somebody's comedy by explaining some of the jokes because you decided to make art with it. So, with this, what happened when I started watching it, like lots of things were very funny. And he has, like, I have seen enough of his work to know if I'm talking like when the whole family categories that he created, the characters that he created. So his whole self-deprecating and looking at the hot women and the kind of repartee he has with the actresses, etc. I thought it was nicely woven in. Now, the reason I chose the alcohol bit, or how it came about, was that when he started talking about the drunk tweets. Now, of course, I have been high, I have been drunk, and some of the things you do are just really, really, really funny. Now, I know alcoholism is a serious problem, and some, like, apparently a lot of underage people, like kids, friends, kids and all, watch this show. So, okay, bacha log, I don't know what you people do. I am not saying that everybody should drink, and this is my story after I turned 23, 22, perfectly legal what I did. So, not my responsibility. So, I just thought that, the way he took that whole serious thing, and I'm sure he was completely fucked when he did that from the followers of the leader. I found it extremely hilarious how he was able to convert that into, dude, when I'm drunk, people do shit. You can't like hold me to it and discuss it the next day. So and then the mental health aspect of it. I read, I follow Faye D'Souza, her news, my squirrel brain reading so much news, India news, and all these sites are so fucked up. So I started following her about a year ago, and I love it because a lot of the relevant information just comes in snippets, and I consume them and it kind of stays with me. So today I read about the mental health and the helpline and things like that. So on one hand, this kind of initiatives are being done. And then on the other hand, when these big guys who have power and money and access to platforms like Netflix, where they can tell their story, when they choose to talk about mental health, read up on the number of reviews which are running him down on using the platform to talk about mental health. It's like a chicken and egg situation. If I talk about mental health, nobody gives a shit right now. But if somebody like me, someone else, has 5 million followers and has come from a poor place and has now become a billionaire, but when that person starts talking about, like, what the fuck do you know, now you're a billionaire. So there is no pleasing people who actually just don't want help or don't want to think positive. So there's no point in that. So here, the mental health aspect of it, the fact that whether he made up the therapist or not, and she told him to go to Amsterdam, I don't think you need to be that vile. I mean, the therapist must have said it in a very boring manner, like, do you want to take time off? He's not going to say that on stage, right? So people are going to make jokes about it. So when all of that happened, I decided that I should look at some line from Netflix to be able to take. I wanted to do his whole song. Now, as soon as you think of song, the first thing now you have to think in the NFT space, lot of garbage is being put out and lot of people are blatantly disregarding copyrights and creating stuff. Now, on one hand, I keep talking about that this whole IP industry needs to kind of reformat itself and imbibe the principles of open source and DAO. On one hand, I keep talking about that, but on the other hand, I also talk about that, okay, people need to be very careful. If you read today or yesterday, Kanye West landed up saying something about that, don't fucking ask me about NFTs and I'm not interested in talking. And I think he scribbled it. I don't know if this was a joke or not, but somebody apparently took a picture of that and put it on an NFT and sold it to the market. So now this is becoming more and more gimmicky and I want to try and stay away from it. So for me, when I decided that, okay, I can take the full song on, it's very easy to check in a jugaadu way. Go to YouTube and search for that same song, and if you find that there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have done their remix versions and there is no copyright infringement thing, because YouTube is smart enough that they have figured out fingerprinting, audio fingerprinting and video fingerprinting. We'll talk about it in some other episode. So then what happens is that they can identify, so you know that a very famous song, if hundreds of people are doing it, there is some sort of new thing that they must have royalties figured out. Some of the new ones, it will get blocked. On OpenSea, it doesn't get blocked, doesn't mean that I should do it. Because I could have easily taken the whole song, converted it, removed the vocals from the audio, added another remix version of it, put his voice and created the whole song, created a 3-minute of it, divided the whole song, let's say into 10-second or 100 pieces. And that could have been a concept from an NFT point of view. 2 or 3 episodes back, I had cited Tanmay Bhatt's channel where he had talked about the top 10 NFT platforms. So one of them was something like this as to how can you take one big piece and make them into like jigsaw pieces. So how do you use different kind of concepts? So for me, that is value add. So when I was thinking about doing this, I just wanted to give a taste as to what is possible. What is possible if there was a drag and drop IP derivative utilization. I don't know the right word right now, but like where I could have just dragged and dropped and not thought about this thing that, oh, whether the song will be there, because whatever I use at the end of the day, it's almost like when you go to any of the shopping carts, you pick all the bunch and then when you are on the checkout counter, it will tell you how much. The same, and then if you've gone over budget, then you can start discarding. I would use the same analogy if we could have something like that for the IP DAO usage system in the next 5 years. So here, now with this guy, I thought of course, I'm not done yet, Yaara is the headline and when the song starts. So for me to come up with this too, it was more just a gut feel. I didn't really, this came to me in about 10 to 15 minutes while I had finished watching the show and I was reading the reviews, etc. Then was the execution of it. So the 3D model part of it, you would think that ideally you wanted to do one character, you would finish the character, you would make the hair, the clothes, everything, then you will go to the next step, like the most organized process. In VFX industry or a big company or even a team of 10 people, that is pretty much the process where you would have somebody who would specialize in making the character. In this case, because the base naked character is the same, it's the hair, the clothes, the eyebrows, the little bit of a lip shape and the face shape. Like the way caricatures do it, you do that and then it starts looking like that person. Like the way if you look at Amul Holdings, you look at any chibi style other characters, that's the idea. So now, after finishing thinking about the character, for me, I knew it's very easy for me to do that because I have about 70-80 characters. I have somebody's suit ready. I have pants ready. So over a period of time, then it just becomes a drag and drop thing. But for me, it still takes me longer because I'm so disorganized with my file keeping. After that comes, so once your character, so I will not create that character because for me, that's the last piece that I have to put in. I need to first do the whole storyboarding. So for me, creation of the content and doing the storyboarding goes hand in hand. It doesn't happen in a very organized manner because I am doing everything. So in this, when I talk about everything, no, I did not make the bottles. I did not make the labels of the bottles. They were readily available. And I want to cite the artist from whom I took. So I have to post it on the thing. I don't know. So I downloaded it from one of these 3D websites where I just went and searched for it. There are lots of models. The only thing what you have to know is now when you download that, the more expensive they are, the more ready they are. So what do I mean by that? So if you're a very, very advanced designer and you know everything, you will download the bottles and the maps, that the images that are there, and within 5-7 minutes, you will know all the shortcuts to manipulate, put it together in the software you are using. But in my case, because I am not so thorough with the texturing process, etc., for me, I downloaded all the bottles. Each bottle had a different texture map, so I had to match them. Now, in the mapping procedure, so what is texture map? I am going to take the example of Friends and the episode of Joey with that Porsche. Remember that he had the Porsche and he finds it with the keys and he's trying to impress the girls, and then finally the guy takes it away, but he had bought all the gear, so he lands up putting boxes and then covers it so that it looks like a car. So the boxes inside, think of those as these 3D pixels. So either they are square, so these are the clay, the 3D clay that is there. And then I make the whole clay, the 3D clay without the texture, and then I paint them. So the face paint is fine. Even the shirt, for example, when you go to a tailor, if you will see that they sometimes put the material on a paper to cut it out, right? So imagine all these 3D models are made of like either paper or white paper or whatever. Post that, you have to technically stick the cloth on top. So instead of sticking, I'm just using the word sticking loosely. So what you are doing is then telling the computer that, okay, this is the arm, and now this pattern needs to go on this arm. So in that texturing bit is when you start manipulating, where you don't add 3D polygons, because that will increase the size. So what you do is, you know, these 3D wallpapers, it was a big fad some 6 years ago. There was a big company I know in India, I think, a lot of them, like you have these 3D wallpapers and you can walk through. So now imagine you have a basic white ball, which is clay, and then on top of that you have a texture which looks very 3D. So the ball is just probably like just 16 faces from a polygon perspective, but the outside is so complicated. So the same thing applies to all these bottles as well. Now, if you look at his dress, like it's shimmering, it has a little bit of 3D, all of those are part of the software. So it doesn't take very long to actually design all of this. So this took me from concept to finishing over the weekend. Production time took me about 8-9 hours. I have to bring that down to 1.5 hours, 1 hour, with all the pieces ready, drag and drop, etc. for the next gen storytelling driven gaming competition groups. Yes. Okay. So I will go back to the concept. So for me, the most funny part of the thing was the way he introduced like such a big incident and how he made it so simple and funny that, dude, I was drunk, just let it go. Like, you know, don't need to eat my head off. So that was fun. And then of course you exaggerate the joke because he talked about, I think, 4 drinks, and I looked at it. And then the rest of it is almost like building on top. You have lots of raw materials and you just play around with it. And the last is a function of time. And one of the reasons why I'm so harrowed is because I had to prepare for the blog, I had to do this, and I am not disciplined with time. Now, what I would now show you is the softwares that I used. So, Adobe Premiere, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, Character Creator from Reallusion, and iClone from Reallusion. These are the 5 softwares that I used, and ZBrush, of course, and ZBrush. Yes, and ZBrush, plus some ready-made images, etc. to manipulate for maps and things like that. So between these 5 softwares, my laptop, my mobile phone, so the mouth movement that you see that he's doing, I can do that in multiple ways. One is because it was so short, I can manually do it by saying, okay, now say I, now like talk like A and whatever, or I could have used my phone to do that. Okay, so now today I think we will have some fun because you can see this. I am going to do live talking to you, and he will be doing the same conversation as me. You can just hear him mouth the movement. Oh no, I can't do that because the iPhone that I'm using to stream live is the phone that has the Live Face app. So I need to stream from this phone and then be able to do that. So I'll do that on Thursday. So coming back to the character. So now from a hair perspective. So if you look at the piece, this piece is there. This is almost like, it looks like it's plastic, and the clothes, etc. are not moving or flowing with the air, etc. In the iClone world, in the Reallusion world, this whole software cycle world, there is a term called weight maps. So what the weight map, what I understand it means is that the closer the cloth is to the body, it is more stiff, and then depending upon the texture and things like that, when it's away because of the air, wind and gravity, it flows. So what weight map does is, using the spectrum of black and white, where black being the things that are holding on and white being where it flows, so the scale of gray is what you use for it to flow. Now that is something which I still find hard to kind of grasp and do that from scratch. That's when the software Marvelous Designer, the clothing software, comes into play. But for my chibi style, I'm not doing that because in Marvelous Designer, the clothing, the proportion, how it falls, I need to do some additional work. Plus that's more involved. So this is just to kind of launch NFT. And this NFT piece will go on to OpenSea DesiPopWorld later this evening. And it will be posted on DesiPopWorld account, my personal account, and I'm going to write a blog about it and going to start LinkedIn as well, because now we are focusing on the retail side of how individual artists can look at this and come up with more ideas. Let's say this show is new right now, it's in news, and if people out there, you all feel that, oh, this is a good idea, from this idea I have been able to come up with this idea, why don't we create this? Can I use your character? Yes, you can use my character. Please reach out. Can you use these bottles? They're already available. All you have to do is download them. They are free, but with conditions that you have to give credit to the artist, and it's also available to use commercially. And that is where I am not comfortable with the models that these sites exist, that if I am using commercially, then why isn't there a simple DAO process where I can say that, okay, on my piece, whatever I sell, X percentage of it will go towards the person who made these bottles, etc., because that constitutes, let's say, 10% of my storytelling or 20% of my storytelling, and I will give this percent or this NFT, or the least I can do is that I have taken his assets to create my story, so I will probably give one NFT to him for free. So I'm thinking that this is the way NFTs could be used in a more collaborative manner. I'm going to take a breath. Please let me know if you all have any questions, people who have joined in late, and then I'll move on to the next topic. Let me know, please. Okay, great. So now coming back to back after a break, coming back to the NFT here, one of the reasons why this NFT I wanted to talk about and then promote and then start talking about by rest of the NFTs is because now I've reached a stage where I am starting to make different groups and creating their characters for them to collaborate with us and do storytelling. So what do I mean by that? So now I had talked about and touched about two groups of kids. One is, please look up this account called Official UGP, Underground Princes. These are two guys from US, and obviously I tease them by calling them ABCD, American Born Confused Desis, absolutely talented dudes. And over the last 2 years, I have seen them. So while they have been so patient with me that, okay, whenever you are ready, we are ready to kind of create some stuff. They've already spent a lot of time creating, and now it's my turn to kind of show what we can do with their characters. So Underground Princess, Official UGP. And the second is Familiarize. So the UGP, the kids are called Josh and Sambram, and then the second account you should look up is called Familiarize. That's based out of India, Calcutta. Ishita and Smriti, absolutely kick-ass duo. Actually, they reached out to me almost 2 years ago when they were, I think they just started out their Instagram channel, and I was one of the early ones where they wanted to just interview, I think, failed entrepreneurs on how they have survived life. So anyway, I don't know, like some advice or whatever of life, how not to fail. So maybe, or what to avoid to fail. So I landed up doing a very, very interesting session, and both of them are dynamite, absolutely dynamite girls. And I've seen their account also last 2 years, the kind of content they've been doing, the kind of mental health conversations they are gearing themselves towards. So between these two, what I'm doing is now I'm gearing up for next week and for Valentine's Day, where these 4 characters, I've already worked on a lot of different like ideas on what kind of content we can make. So the idea is that next week, 4 of them, each one, like maybe I'll do 2 NFTs, one for either of them, and play them here and hopefully bring them over where I can interview them live, where they answer questions as a puppet. So I'm going to tag them. So hopefully when they, if they do notice it, I do hope to kind of bring them here and play and do some fun stuff with their avatars. So that's the next step for me in terms of where this whole blog is going, and why I have chosen Instagram to do this conversation instead of YouTube, LinkedIn, because YouTube, a lot of people go there professionally when they are looking to completely expand and big. I think I am at a stage right now where it's important to do smaller case studies and get people acquainted with this here, and the whole lifestyle shopping Unfortunately, not to my liking, but that's the industry which is really taking off. So even from an education point of view, I have to, even if my focus is that, I have to kind of use whatever is available to me. So unfortunately, right now, most of it is available, that is available in the retail studying and retail space is shopping and fashion and all that crap. Okay, so so the next would be, how do we integrate, let's say, familiarize official UGP. So one is a music duo, and one setup does these kind of mental health conversations. So now both of them similar age groups, very different upbringing, but from the same cultural background in terms of country and whatever. And the idea that these are the two sets of next gen artist kids that I have seen where they have consistently grown and taken smaller steps every day, and the consistency has been unbelievable. So I do hope that next week when I launch their characters and their NFTs, they will have a little more advantage in terms of being able to have conversations with people about mental health who want to be discreet, and they can come as puppets and have conversations. The next step would be to distort their voice when it comes, so that they don't feel like their voice can be recognized, because that's another, and given how pervasive times we live in, there's no privacy. I feel that that on blockchain and the next gen like HIPAA, where you kind of sign, all of that should even happen for these kind of mental health professionals who are looking at using digital puppetry for mental health conversations. So I feel that that's one very important piece. And from official UGP music, the kind of talk shows they are doing, there's a lot of entertainment side, but if you notice their content as well, they do go very deep in terms of their social understanding of where they live in, what kind of environment they are growing up in, what responsibilities they have. So their content, I feel, I have worked with them, they've worked on a couple of pieces with me, and I do feel that creating and performing live as their digital avatars is something that the musicians of this generation will use, not only to just have fun, but partner with platforms like mental health platforms like Familiarize, or women empowerment platforms like Familiarize, and actually collaborate to create some immersive and impactful NFTs. I also feel that given the kind of garbage NFTs are going through, like garbage NFTs are becoming, it's very, very important to stick with a bunch of people who you admire and understand are actually walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to NFT AI ethics. Okay, now. Okay, about this, this is a little bit of a feminism based, like, this from the sidelines of feminism. So one more piece I wanted to bring out is that after I watched Netflix, I'm not done yet, I also watched a YouTube stream live where he was interacting with his fans, and the host was Kusha Kapila. She's one of the premier influencers of India, and I really love some of her work. Now, yeah, she wore a fucking dress which was not whatever flattering. It's fine. Why is every article, and why are they bombarding with that? This is one of the reasons why the celebrities and influencers become so cagey, because everybody fucking has to project. What is the need to tell? She is not blind. She can see it. So let it go. So this vile nature on clothes is something like, why don't you people just do one thing? People who are so full of self-hatred about their appearance, create a beautiful, sexy avatar. Everybody becomes Sushmita Sen and Aishwarya Rai on your digital avatar and just pat each other's back and look like Miss 10. No, why are you all like bothering other fucking people? So let other people enjoy the content and what it was supposed to be. Like, just let's start separating. Tum log, like, especially I know the Hindu version of it. I don't know the Christian and parting the sea I know. And Manthan I know. I don't know the Islamic version of this thing and other religion. But why don't we just fucking do that? Like, with Web 3.0, why don't we just divide them into like some 2-3 color belts of people, and then we can decide which belt we want to be rather than creating these microfragments. Okay. So, like, for me, how about we just focus on the main art? Like, this segregation that I was talking about, what if we do that, okay, this set of people review, talk about from a technical point, art point, and if you are interested for this show, go here. Maybe production companies should start focusing a little on trying to put the message out to their audiences that, okay, if you are the hater type, then go here. If you are the geeky type, go here. Maybe make a little more effort in their marketing. So that might help people like us also to watch some better shows. Okay. Now, the next lot of anger. Now, rant is done. Good stuff. I saw a documentary on Charlie Chaplin, the real Charlie Chaplin. And of course, I have seen his movies. I know the controversial life he led. Of course, the marrying of women who are like very creepily and almost underage and everything else. Yet, I did go through it and it was just a mind-numbingly, mind-opening mindfuck of a show, and how one person can make an impact on the world. And it's just one of those, like, you just sit and wonder what goes on in that person's mind. So I feel like that is one of the things, like the reason I was watching I've watched a bunch of other things which I don't want to talk about because that's part of my Feb 14th campaign. So one of the things on the weekend I was watching, because we are now working towards what we should do on Feb 14th and why this Feb 14th is important. So one personal, I am not a Feb 14th person. I am not a Valentine's person. My friends, my extended family will attest to that. But what I've realized is that it has become almost important now to speak up on this day. It's just crazy why this day has now become a beacon of, divide between politicians and societies and everything. So it's just crazy. And when something becomes that important, you choose whether you want to invest your time in talking about it. So, Anindita, I recognize you. Even in that Chotu thing, I can, hey. So that's why this Feb 14th is important. And we are working, as I had talked about, that we are working with a whole bunch of artists and putting a lineup of things together to do for the whole year. Starting Feb 14th is kind of like a seed plant kind of a thing. And it's Bollywood Love and Peace Project. Hashtag Bollywood Love and Peace Project. There's going to be a whole bunch of information. The website is going to be called BollywoodOpenSource.org. And the first few participants that, like, artists that we are working with, Pakistan, Iran, Nigeria are the first 3. There's a lot of others. They're mentioned on my website. And we are, of course, adding, like, as things get finalized, we'll keep adding. So one of the things is that which character from Indian cinema defies the boundaries of race, caste, color, and religion? That is one. So for artists, so this is artists who are interested in collaborating and participating and seeing where we are going with this whole campaign for Feb 14 from an art perspective, technology perspective, IP reformatting perspective, the first open source Bollywood DAO system, how that will work, what kind of walls are we going to hit from the legacy IP companies, who's going to be able to support us, who's going to actually be the adversary that we'll have to convince that this is better for the storytelling industry as well. So again, which character from Indian cinema defies the boundaries of race, caste, color, and religion? Which character is the one from South Asian community worldwide who would nominate as their collective representative to propagate true love and peace through storytelling? And click here to vote. So that's what we are working on, where the idea is that we are inviting artists from all over the world to come together, and whichever character, and it can be from all the Indian cinema languages, starting from 100 years ago, from Alamara to movies now, worldwide, but sticking to the Desi characters, Desi life, internationally, all the countries who think, for them, whatever interpretive Desi means to them. So that's how wide it is. So we'll also get a sense of how people look at Bollywood and what they think represents true love, and according to them, for me, when somebody asked me, I was like, yeah, for me Bollywood just means, okay, two people are coming and then there are two birds and we are in prude love. So prude land. So for me, if I had to make art, I would bloody take all those MCBC 20 actors from my generation, put them in the fucking prude love category and say कि हाँ भाई, आपके जितने भी सब लोग हैं, आपके जितने भी बच्चे, सब कुंती के जैसे आए हैं, because you all don't kiss on screen. So I am going to do that. So what are the other artists? What are they going to do? The winning character. And so what we are planning to do is everybody makes different kind of artwork, NFTs, their versions of it. You do chibi style, you do 2D, 3D, you can do graphic novel style. But the point is the character. So whichever character comes out like this, oh my God, this is the character, he or she is the one, or maybe we do a couple of them. I'm also not sure, depending upon the kind of response we get over the year. What we are looking to do is that the winning character will be used as a muse to make a virtual human digital buddy and given free to each one who voted for that character to monetize through various means defined by a DAO framework. So that's where I'm thinking might be a very interesting way to actually get a collective opinion from artists across the world and see what they think. And these are artists who are not necessarily the top of the line artists. It can be anybody, even if your school wants to participate. And we see how people are interpreting the stories that they have heard. Now, whether we can use these comic characters, I'll definitely not touch upon the outside of Desi IPs and the way it functions. And plus, all of this has to be interpretive. It can't just be you take a photograph of an actor and just be done with it. That will be rejected. So that's the idea. And the further you stray from original IP, the more crazy idea, mixed media you put in, the better it is for us to look at what kind of a DAO system we want to create, because that is what will entice the original IP owners, the original filmmaker, the producers to say, okay, we created this character. Now look at these 10,000 people, how they're getting inspired from this character and creating their own version of it, or what if scenarios. And I do feel that Bollywood has not even touched the surface. So with this, it's a very small beginning. This just so happened because this event, the weekend that I saw, and of course I was very tickled by the underlying subtext of what's going on with this. So I'm very happy about that. Yes. I was actually going to talk about another piece. This weekend, Anna Wiener is a contributing writer to New York covering Silicon Valley startup culture and technology. And she is the author of Uncanny Valley. And she wrote an article called Money in the Metaverse. So I read this, and this is one of the articles that I definitely want to kind of touch upon, and then people, if you guys get a chance, read on it, but maybe Thursday I'll elaborate. So in a virtual world full of virtual goods, finance could get weird. So I read through it. I have to read at least 5 more times and make notes so that I can decide what I want to kind of touch upon, because it's extremely in-depth. I learned, and I've heard of this term before, but gaming farmers. And what are gaming farmers? What does it actually mean? Does it have something to do with Farmville? No. But is it kind of inspired, the word comes from what Farmville and Cityville did to the gaming industry. Yes. So gaming farmers, and how these gaming farmers are going to be the change, basically the next gen slaves. If the AI ethics, the gaming industry, the VFX industry, the NFT industry, the blockchain industry, and the top 5 FANG companies do not ring alarm bells all over, if that doesn't happen, we are going to see, the whole fashion industry, the China, what is that, sweatshop? The next generation sweatshop is going to be gaming farmers. And now take the controversial American sports and the college sports and how they get exploited. Now double that for the gaming industry and what it could do to the eyes once the virtual reality comes in, augmented reality comes in the name of education, etc., etc. So are we going to go into a dystopian world? Yes. Are we going to go into the next 30 years? Not so much. So I don't really care. I don't think I'll be alive after that. And I don't really care after that. So for the next 30 years, whatever understanding I have, where I feel my moral compass lies, I will continue to work on this. So, I think I've talked enough about this, and I'm going to play this one more time. And this is something I'm requesting everybody. I generally don't do that, but I'm requesting everybody that please do promote this, watch this show. This is not just these kind of shows are a very good beginning for the young kids to understand how to use humor to talk about their mental health problems, how to deal with them, how it's extremely important to be able to use self-deprecating humor. And while doing so, hopefully people will understand that, comedy, laughing at yourself is kind of a good medicine. Otherwise, that's why we are seeing more and more vile articles about vile shit all the time, because people are not courageous enough to laugh at themselves. Yes. And I'm going to play this one more time. Please see, appreciate, and it will be, I hope you do appreciate, and it will be on OpenSea at DesiPopWorld by end of day today. I have to kind of make versions of it, and YouTube I have to do a lot of technical shit and then upload it, mint it also. And here, this one also, I'm going to only mint one, not going to mint 1,000, want to mint one, probably keep a couple of months, see how this does. Do I get support, etc.? Because the idea is not to just rake in billions, but the idea is to bring in all this money and all these NFTs that we are doing. This is the last announcement before I play this again and say bye. Is that all this NFTs that I'm making, when we are selling, if I do land up selling them, most of the monies from this is going to be used to create collaborations with these next generation social media accounts, which have small amounts of followers, whether they have 10,000, 5,000, 5 million, doesn't matter. But the idea is, how do they look at this technology and be the first ones to try and be ahead of the curve and not wait for 50 other non-desi brands do this and then say, okay, why couldn't we do this? Why do Indians go out and become successful? That whole thing, hopefully with this kind of small little initiatives by artists and entrepreneurs of my generation all over the world is going to help. So on that very note, thank you very much. Once again, all of you who join in week after week, supporting on my rant and hoping that I will start becoming more and more precise and concise. I need some more time. Thank you, and I'm going to play this one more time. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. I will see you again, same time, Thursday. Meantime, the 3 accounts, DesiPopWorld, Desi Superverse, DesiPop Things are active, but not even close to the way I would have liked, from content perspective. So hopefully we'll get better in a few months with the new collaborations that we are bringing on board. And the new account that we are going to launch with Bollywood open source.org on 14th of this month is going to be DesiPop Fashion. So DesiPop Fashion on Valentine's Day, and I do hope that I'll do enough for it to actually create some noise. So look forward to sharing all of that with you. Thank you.